I'm not really much of a fast food person. Um, every now and then, a good In-N-Out burger is fine.
Yeah.
My hopefully my trainer doesn't listen to this. I love donuts. Like a good donut from time to time really just sparks up my life.
Andrew, I am super excited to be talking to you today on the podcast. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to getting to chat and talk about, I don't know, maybe what's going on in the world, some motorcycle stuff, see where it takes us.
Awesome. I love it. So before we begin, let me tell you this. I am super, super jealous, right? You have my dream job, okay? And I'm sure you're not the only one I'm not the only one who's ever said it. You have my dream job. Now, hate is a very strong word, but I'm telling you right now, I hate the fact I have no talent. Okay? I wanted to race ever since I was a kid. I got my bike, and that first turn, I realized, oh my God, I have, that dream is gone, right? I got to do something else.
I don't have it.
I don't have it. I got to go back to computer science, do something that, I can work with. Um, Obviously, you're talented, two times national champion, stock 1000. I'm a casual fan. I'm not going to be able to spew out all your stats. Okay, that's not my job. That's more for you to hype yourself up. But I know at least that much. Okay, in
Yeah.
fact, when I was talking to Rick on the previous podcast, I kept saying super stock 1000, and now I feel like, the biggest. So
Yeah.
that's okay, and I'm okay with that. Um, what I want to know is, firstly, how did you become the way you are? You're obviously pretty fearless. You're obviously determined. Is that born? Is that driven by your parents?
I get, obviously, I've been doing this long enough to where I get that question quite a bit. So I'm 21 years old and I've been doing it since I was 4. So I get that I've gotten that question a lot over the past, 17 years. And I mean, I really can't, it's hard to pin it down to like one thing. I think it was just I'm just thankful that I was born with maybe a gift that some other people aren't born with. And I think to get to the point where I'm at now has been, I think, hard work.
Mm.
Like, I think talent takes you to a point, and I think right now I'm not really riding on my quote unquote talent. I think I'm riding more so on the hard work I put in behind the scenes that not everyone gets to see, like at the racetrack. So,
Yeah, I am starting to realize that. I mean, we've always known that it's not just about being fast on the bike, right? It's being fast and consistent and putting in the effort in order to get that consistency going,
yeah.
week in, week out. So I completely understand that. And you know what? That's a lot like you talk about an MMA fighter, and I can't remember who it was, but they had a famous quote. They're like, you know, it's great if you work your ass off, and it's great if you have talent. What sucks is when you fight somebody who does both,
Yeah.
because that's the guy that's going to beat you up 10 times out of 10 because they're
Yeah.
they're talented and they're determined.
Yeah.
So that's good. So now with COVID-19 happening, what are you doing to stay busy?
I mean, a lot of my just day-to-day life has been I eat a lot of food now, just a lot. And then I've been working out and then riding dirt bikes as much as I can. I mean, typically I'll work out 5 to 6 days a week, and then when I'm not working out, I'm riding my dirt bike. So it's been keeping me busy, and I think there's a lot of people who have the mindset that dirt bikes are, I mean, maybe a little bit detrimental to you on a road race track. Obviously, I don't really share that ideology because I enjoy riding my dirt bike. It's
Yeah.
more so I don't think of it as maybe benefiting so much. I look at it as it's a fun way to like work out. I think it's a good way to train without being, I don't know, like crying on the floor after your 13-minute metcon in the gym. So I think it's a better alternative sometimes to just go out and do a 30-minute moto. And it's also nice because you get to hang out with some cool people that share the same thing as you. And yeah, that's hang out 6 feet apart. I mean,
I
six
get it.
feet, 6 feet.
One of the things.
uh,
Yeah, sorry, go on.
but yeah, that's just kind of what I've been up to. It's occupied a lot of time.
I think inherently motorcycle racers are always, COVID safe, right? They already have the shield on, they already have the
Exactly.
mask on, right?
Yeah.
And an average bike, I still have my CBR 929. That is 6.5 feet long. So as long as you're behind me, bro,
Did
we're
you
we're
go in
good.
the garage and measure it or what?
I did, and because my garage is not big enough to fit my cars and my bike, so I had to get a shed. I actually have actually leave it at my parents' shed. So I did have to make sure that I had an 8 foot long shed to fit my bike. That was one of the things when I bought the shed for them.
There you go.
Yeah. Um, you're working out. That's very interesting. What kind of workouts do you do? I mean, with all due respect, you're 21, you're young, you can eat anything you want and it
Yeah.
wouldn't show. But how much is diet and what kind of workouts do you do?
I think actually the last few years I've I mean, I've taken it seriously, but I mean, as seriously as like an 18, 19-year-old typically does. I think I mean, I look back a little bit and I kind of regret how I treated my body
Hmm.
and in racing. I kind of rode out on talent and not the hard work. And over the past year and a half, I've kind of transitioned into being like, you know what I do at the track isn't anything if I don't try harder at home or in the gym. So I think actually even so much this year since I mean the new year turned over, I started working with a new personal trainer and we do like a lot of what we call like functional fitness
Hmm.
and um, we've kind of honed in the diet a little bit more too. And I mean, a lot of my working out is I've mentioned like a Metcon, which is like metabolic conditioning. We do a lot of aerobic work, which is like running and cardio, and we'll go to like the high school track and just run laps and specific structures to do those laps. And then we do strength work in the gym, um, rowing machines. But the way we do it a lot is putting it in a format at a high intensity
Hmm.
level
Right.
to kind of, I mean, put you out of your comfort zone. And what I've really accepted recently is the work and the pain that I've felt in the gym is nowhere near as bad as it feels on the bike. So the more I hurt and the more I'm on the ground, like laid out after a workout, the better I'm going to feel on the racetrack. So I think, I mean, it's a big mindset change that I've overcome going from, oh yeah, I'm just a good motorcycle racer to being like, all right, I just need to be a good athlete. And
Hmm.
I've really started to embrace you get a little bit of flack from the buddies that are like, yeah, let's just go hang out, man. Let's go eat like donuts and cake and we'll hang out. And it's like, ooh, that sounds great, but I can't. Like, so I think, especially at my age, like you mentioned, realistically, I could probably eat whatever I want and put on like 4 pounds. But what I've really done now is my body really functions at a level where the amount of food I eat is how much I need, no more, no less. And
Hmm.
um, you can kind of tell how the body's working after, honing that down a little bit.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So you have a nutritionist as well, or is just
My trainer does my nutrition as well.
okay, okay. Now, how much of science does that play into your regimen, your recovery, the food you take? Is it measured in some way? Do you put on some kind of a strap to measure your heart rate, to measure your recovery rate? How does that work?
Yeah, so I actually always wear a heart rate monitor. So like even it tracks my sleep and it
Mm,
tracks, I mean, how many calories I burn throughout the day. Um, but I mean, when I say like I track my food, I it's weird. Like I feel bad for anybody who like goes like comes over and eats with me because I actually have a food scale, and everything I eat I weigh out before I eat it. So like if I'm eating like rice, my like chicken and Brussels sprouts and broccoli, I measure out each individual food item before I eat it. And then each, like, I mean, if I'm drinking milk, I gotta, like, how many ounces of milk I drank. And
Wow.
I mean, it's just all, everything. So,
Yeah. Like a bodybuilder, because they're
yeah,
very, very disciplined.
yeah,
So it sounds like discipline really is the key to your success and to I guess most racers at your caliber.
yeah. I think that's something, I mean, on the mindset front, like the discipline's very important. And something that I've accepted is I want to wake up and do something today that my competitor didn't do. Like I
Mm,
want to be able to say that, oh, I know that this guy didn't do this and I did it good. So the more I do that, the better I'll be prepared when round one comes. And I mean, maybe a little bit better if an injury comes, I can recover better. And I think just in general that when you prepare that way, it's a little bit easier at the racetrack, which is where it counts.
yeah, exactly. Now, again, because I'm a casual fan, catch up on me a little bit. When you race, do you race multiple races that day? Do you do a different class of racing at the same time? Like,
So at MotoAmerica, it's just one race a day, but you have multiple sessions like practice and qualifying, obviously.
sure.
But obviously, my next logical jump would be Superbike, which is longer, more intense races. So, I mean, I feel like you always want to train for your goal, not what you're doing right now. So my goal is to race in Superbike, which is a longer race. So therefore, I have to train for that longer race. And
Right.
I mean, I did Suzuka 8 hour a few years ago, and that's kind of like changed my mindset a little bit on training because an hour on a full size motorcycle is
It's tough.
it's tough, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's something that's kind of whipped me a little bit into shape.
Yeah. I remember the first time I did a track day on my CBR 600, and I did like 50 minutes, and I was like, dude, I'm done. I am literally done for the rest of the night.
Yeah, I like on the dirt bike front, like my girlfriend and I will go out and ride, and I she's just getting into motorcycles and stuff, and she has like a little CRF 230, and I'll do a moto or two, and like she'll go do like a few laps, and she's like, man, like this is hard, like, and it's funny because like she's in good shape too, like she goes to the gym and stuff,
Yeah.
but I think the average person just expects, oh, you just sit on it and twist the throttle. That's all you got to do. So I think like a little bit of her mindset was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. Like I've watched you guys do it, and then she's like, okay, that was a little bit tougher than I thought.
Yeah. I genuinely feel that racers, motorcycle racers in particular, don't get the respect they deserve because it's much harder on your body than anybody could ever expect. I mean,
Yeah,
even the F1 guys, okay, fine, they have more G-force, beating them on their
yeah,
body, but the amount of work that it takes to throw the bike around, I mean, it's
yeah,
insane. And you're riding a nearly stock bike.
yeah. I think it being that like you see me like I'm not like the image of professional motor or professional athlete. So in high school, like I even wear glasses. Like I am not the definition of like, oh, this guy's like he's an athlete.
Yeah.
So like you always get those I don't know like bench warmers on the soccer team that are always like, oh man, you ride dirt bikes, you ride street bikes, like ah, easy. And I'm like, ah, no, it's not like that. And I think what I've really come to notice as I've gotten older is what it really tests as being a human being. It's a lot of I feel like a lot more mental, and I think that's what's the hardest part of being a motorcycle racer or even your average track day rider. I mean, you're dealing with like you're 100 miles per hour going into a corner. You got to get your hand-eye coordination, grab your downshifts, roll off the throttle. Like you got to get through all these steps, and then hit your mark and then get back on the throttle. And it's like, you don't just do that once.
Yeah.
You do that lap after lap after lap. And then I think that's honestly where it kind of separates like the track day level guy from the club racing level guy to professional. I
Yeah.
think being the consistency of being able to hit that same mark over and
Yeah.
over and over
Yeah.
is where it comes in. And then obviously being like you got to be in good shape to do that too. So I think a lot of times people discount the whole package of being a motorcycle rider.
Yeah. You know, something, it's a strange phenomenon, and I'm sure you've seen this thousands and thousands of times, is you always get that one guy or that one girl who is, when they're doing track days or when they're out there having a boot, they are the fastest person on the track. And yet, when it's race time, they can only follow, right? If they're following the lead,
Mm-hmm.
they're always, 1/10, 2/10 faster. But once they take that lead, something happens and they slow right the hell down. Why do you think that is? And what is the mental edge to overcome that? Is it possible?
You know, I'm sure it's possible. I don't really know like the steps you would take to kind
Mm,
of break somebody into that. I think a lot of it would be willingness to push yourself. I think a lot of it is kind of the battle mindset because obviously I think any sporting event is an alpha setting. So I mean, be it a female or a male, obviously if you're being in a sporting event, your purpose there is to win. Like,
yeah.
and if you're not there to win, why are you there?
Mm,
But I think when you see somebody in front of you, you tap into that extra percent of like, okay, well, we got to pull this out of the sleeve because I ain't gonna get beat by this person.
right.
So, and then I think a lot of times, like there was a race this year where I had a rider close a gap in on me, and I mean multiple cases. Like I feel like I lead pretty well, um, but I think when you see somebody up there, it's that little bit of okay, I can go a little bit faster here. Okay, I could go a little bit faster here, and you have that kind of carrot up there where you can see like, oh, that worked.
Mm,
I improved a little bit. I closed that gap. But leading, you're kind of like you're doing your own thing. So if you're running good, like on a good day, you can just keep gapping and gapping and gapping. On a bad day, you just kind of like hope that they're on a bad day too. Like you're just like, I mean, one of the races, like in like Sonoma Raceway, I got out to a good start, got the whole shot, and just kind of hit my marks for however many laps and didn't have any pressure. But like the Pittsburgh and the New Jersey, those two are two standout races for me last year where I had a lot of pressure coming from the boys behind me.
mm.
And that's where I feel like there's a lot of mental fortitude that you have to have as an individual to not let the guys or girls behind you dictate what you do. And
Mm.
I think somebody that's trying to improve on being a leader, sometimes I think it's honestly just experience, like getting thrown in the deep end. Like that's something my dad always did for me is I would never the easy way. Like I grew up racing motocross, and the second I got good in one grouping, bumped me up to the next one, and I'm like, I was just getting good. He's like, I don't care, you're gonna get better now. I was like, what? So I think that's kind of something that helped push me to being a, I think a good fundamentally sound rider.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people. I mean, this is not my day job, obviously. I have another job,
Yeah,
and I used to be in sales. So I do talk to a lot of C-level people, and they're all extreme winners. And I kind of mentioned that earlier when we were just exchanging text.
yeah,
I am fascinated by extreme winners, and there's nothing ashamed or wrong with that. That's your makeup, right?
yeah.
And it turns out that the majority of people does or is nature and nurture combined to produce in that mindset, right? It's the
Yeah.
one thing to have talent. It's the one thing to say, I know I can do better and I'm willing to do better. But there's also that push, and maybe not from your parents. It could be a mentor, it could be a teacher, it could be
Yep.
somebody else. But they're like, listen, dude, you're gonna do tons better than you can imagine. And so that's why we need you to stay challenged and stay
Yeah.
feeling that pressure of being, oh God, it's hard.
Yeah.
So
I 100% believe that. I mean, I'm thankful to have a really good supporting family. I mean, just in general, since I was bugging my dad for a motorcycle when I was a kid to now, I think just in general, I mean, I'm sure there were some times where my parents were like, "Man, you still want to do this? Like, it's getting a little scary out there." But I mean, they've never been like, "Hey, we're done." And I think having the people behind me to kind of like support the passion that I have for this, and the people that you meet at the track that believe in you, and I think thankfully I've met a lot of extremely amazing people at the track, and they've become part of that family that you kind of rely on a little bit to kind of give you that last little bit, like, hey, you can do this. Like, I know it could be tough, but you just got to be tougher. So I think that's something that I'm really thankful for, especially like I feel like having that behind you is really important. But like what I've started to do for myself is I think at some point you have to take some of that into your own hands.
sure.
And I think that's something that I've been doing really well over the past few months in the training scheme of things. And I mean, I wish we were racing because I'd really like to see the results because I've really become a lot more driven off the track to become a better individual. Like in a day to day life thing, like I want to be nice and just a welcoming person to everyone. I want to be dedicated to my passion, and then I just want to be a damn good motorcycle rider.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, that's a lot of just good support.
Now, it's a little bit embarrassing. I don't know if you have siblings or not.
Yeah, I have one older brother. Yeah,
Okay.
he's just he's in the day to like just grinding at work, and you know just didn't race too much. He raced a little bit when he was younger, but he's my older brother. He's 5 years older than I am, and just wasn't as interested in it as I was. Um, so it's just I think I got the genes that was like, you know what, losing sucks. So
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So when I was 16, okay, I announced I was 15 and a half. I announced to my parents that, hey, I'm getting a bike. Hell or high water, I'm going to go work night shift. I'm going to work at this factory midnight to 8 every day. And I remember this like like it was yesterday. Okay. And that was literally was my dream. So
yeah,
fine. And I announced it to my parents. And my dad's like, all right, if you take the motorcycle safety course, you can go get a
hmm
bike. And my mom just broke down in tears, clinging on to for dear life, like,
yeah,
dude, don't do it. Like, you're gonna put your mother into the grave, right?
yeah.
Does your mom still get the jittery bugs when you race today? Does she
Oh,
still
I'm
get a little bit
sure.
nervous?
Yeah, like unfortunately, once I turned pro, she hasn't been able to watch me as much just because we travel the country.
Mm,
But yeah, I think she still gets a little nervous. I mean, as I was kind of progressing through the ranks, I think she was getting more and more like, come on, kid, what are you doing? Like, that's, you sure you want to be doing this? But I mean, obviously, she never held me back. She's always
yeah.
been like, okay, let's just go race.
It's like Andrew, like, okay, you've done enough. You've won the championship for once. You're good. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
go and
All right.
relax.
Yeah, come on home. Yeah, I
Exactly.
think no, I think it would be weird if she didn't get it. I think every mom has that little bit of, come on, like let's just be safe. Why are we doing this stuff? So, yeah,
Yeah.
but she herself, I mean, she likes running and stuff too, so I think she understands the dedication to something too, so.
Mm, mm. I think, you know what? I think DNA genes being passed on from parents is a big deal. do a lot of subconscious stuff that I go, oh my God, this is exactly what my dad did. It's like
Yeah.
gross. It's like grody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, like
Gosh, nobody wants to be like their parents, but one day you wake up and you're like, oh crap, I'm just like them.
I sound and look exactly like my dad. We're like freaking cookie cutter, right?
I
And
know it's funny because I feel like as every teenager, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be nothing like my parents. They suck. And then like you starting to realize like, oh, I did that. Oh, that's exactly what my dad would have done. And you're like, no, I mean, I say that as a joke. I love
yeah,
my parents to death. Like they're great people, but I mean, it's a natural thing as a kid to be like, I don't want to be anything like them. They're the worst people ever. Like they didn't let me stay out past 9:30 last night.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's funny though.
Now, do you get to ride on the street? Are you allowed? Is there stuff you're not allowed to do contractually speaking, or?
No, I mean, if I wanted to ride on the street, I'm sure I could, but realistically, that's not in my interest. Just because I know who I am. It's
Mhm.
like you can't have a pro football player go to your like local football field and like
Sure,
just kid around,
pickup
right?
game.
Like
Yeah,
yeah, they can't just like play 40%. And I think that's something that I've thought about where I'm like, I'm I'm a pretty responsible person in a sense, but I know the second I get on a bike on the street, I'd be like, oh, I wonder how fast I can hit this corner. And
yeah.
then I'm gonna be in the hospital. Then my mom's gonna be really mad. She's gonna be like, "You're such an idiot." I'm like, "You're not wrong."
See, that's the one time, okay, it's where I'm glad I have no talent. And I told Rick this. No, I didn't tell Rick this. I told somebody else this. Um, and I said, the only way I ever got a girl to look at me when I was younger, when I was your age, was because of the bike.
Oh yeah.
Without the bike, it'd be hopeless. And taking
I
off the helmet didn't help.
no, that's what I love to say that too. Is like, I'm the most attractive person with a helmet on, and if I'm taking a helmet off, it's got to be in a dark room because I'm also the most attractive person in the dark room. I've noticed it. It's like lights are off, I'm really good looking. So I'm like, all right, well, we gotta. I'm not impressing anyone. I'm still. Luckily, my girlfriend's blind, so like she can't see for crap, and I'm like, I'm in luck. Like she's like, I need to go get new glasses. I was like, I don't think so. Like I just keep them off, and we'll be fine.
It's hilarious. Yeah, like, hey, honey, can you put this bag on? It's not because you're not good looking. It's because
Yeah,
I'm really bad. Just,
yeah.
well, keep the lights on, but you got to put this blindfolder on.
Yeah,
There we
like
go.
those like TV shows where they have like the all black glasses that you can't see through. That's my trick. Just put
Okay.
those on her, like when we go out to dinner and stuff, and she's like, "You're looking really good tonight." I'm like, "You know it, looking great."
I'm paying anyway. As an Asian guy, but don't worry, I'm paying anyway. Don't worry about the money. I'm paying
Right?
anyway. Right into the stereotype.
We make a lot of jokes, but I'm like, you know what? I feel like some people go the wrong route and posting it on the internet. Like,
Yeah.
especially right now, a lot of people are posting their political views, at least stateside, because of the coronavirus
Yeah.
or COVID-19 or whatever it is today.
Yeah.
And um, I personally like I have my viewpoints, and you know what? Like, I don't really care to publish it because it's my opinion. Like, I don't need Joe Schmo to have an opinion on my opinion. Like, it's just how I think, and that's that. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people get stuck in this little like I don't know, like everyone argues, like everyone just wants to argue because they're right, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get into this. Like, no, thank you, because
Yeah.
this is only turning out bad. Like,
Yeah.
I went on Facebook for, geez, 5 minutes today, and
Okay.
the first post I saw was this guy hating on the police officers. Like he's calling them pigs and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
one thing I will say is I really value the police, the army, the like everyone who supports like the
Yeah,
general population, like the
that's right.
healthcare workers, everyone,
Yeah,
great individuals. I really like love the work that they do and I appreciate it. And when I see a post like that, I mean, obviously, I'm not a police officer. My dad's not. Like, my family isn't.
mm,
But I feel like that's kind of attacking me because, I mean, I don't think it's fair to hate on an individual because of something that somebody else did. And that's
yeah,
like, I mean, that's like hating on, um, didn't Matt Mladen get caught up in some drama recently? That's like hating me because Matt Mladen did something wrong. And I'm
yeah,
like, that's just not fair. Like so when I see a post like, you know, those pigs are blah 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 blah, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
see that post was not needed. Like that was not a post that should be on the internet. And then you have somebody who's like me and supports like the troops and the the police officers, and he's like, hey man, that's kind of BS, like why are you saying that? And then they're bickering at each other. I'm like, this is something I'm not getting involved in.
yeah. Well, I think the first mistake is going on Facebook. You're way too young to be on Facebook. Okay,
Oh,
Facebook is for old guys like me. Okay, stay on your
it's
Snapchat,
good
stay on your
entertainment
TikTok.
though.
It is, but I think it's kind of proven
Gosh.
now that I think it's proven on Facebook that their algorithm is geared towards pissing you off.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember hearing that from credible people who study this stuff, and they're like, because they know that the outrage culture does generate clicks,
it
does
does. It
generate
does.
traffic and debate. So I'm still on it, and honestly, again, it's because I'm a lot older than you, and it's like the only way I keep connected to my
Yeah,
extended family, right? But and I suck at social media, by the way. I don't know. I have no love for Twitter because I'm like I don't
yeah.
need that in my life. I don't need the drama,
I'm
right? Like you
I'm
say.
not really a big fan of social media. I think the only reason I really do it is because it's kind of part of being a motorcycle racer.
Yep.
But I keep Facebook, and hear me out. I keep it because it's funny to me. I
Mm,
love seeing people mad. Like I'm like although that post was extremely disrespectful, I found it entertaining in the comments.
sure.
Like it's like you're watching a sitcom just scrolling down your phone and it's instant feedback. Like you get to see like someone yelling at each other and you're like, "Huh. That's like an episode of Jersey Shore but on your cell phone." And it's great. And I mean, see, the only things I ever really post are what like training or motorcycles. I don't
Sure.
really post my day-to-day life on it just because I don't really care. Again, I don't care what someone's opinion on is on what I do. Like, like it's my life. Like
Yeah.
you've got your opinion and what on what you do, and I
Yeah.
got what I do. It's like we all do our own thing, and that's how it works.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So I won't talk about too much about the coronavirus or anything, but if we're allowed to now go back to our normal life, will there be racing this year?
It's a good question. Um, I don't know. Realistically, I don't really know what MotoAmerica's plans are. The local series in California, I don't really know what their plans are
Mm,
because the governor of California is still kind of doing the stay-at-home thing. So obviously can't stay at home at the racetrack, sadly. So unfortunately, I don't really know what that really means. So I've actually looked in. I'm probably going to do some like dirt bike racing here
right.
in the next month or so, just because I mean, I want to see a checkered flag. So I'm like, I don't really care what checkered flag it is. It's got to be somewhere. So
All right. Have you done flat track racing, or have you done flat track at all?
I did. I did it when I was younger, and then I did it
Yeah.
a few years ago, and I was absolutely abysmal. Like my performance on that was like watching a baby deer learn to walk. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick to like other things.
Yeah. Why does flat track seemingly translate so well to pro racing? Like I
I
mean,
think
you hear all the
throttle
greats do it,
control.
right? Okay.
Throttle control, I think, because I mean, it's just a lot of bike control. You got to learn what the bike's doing and what you can do to help the bike go forward. Um, I think I do things that help with that. I think what I do for training, like I live in Reno and we got a lot of dry desert, a lot of
Mm,
hard packed sand. I mean, it's just slippery and slidey, but I do it on a dirt bike instead of a flat track bike. And I think, I mean, as long as you can translate something to road racing, go right ahead. I mean, there's some people that, I mean, there's people out there that don't even know how to ride dirt bikes that are really good on or road race bikes. So I
right.
mean, I don't think it's if you're good at one, you're good at all. So I think I mean, there's good flat track riders that aren't good at riding street bikes. So I think
Mm,
it's kind of like if you can translate it to make sense to you is really what it boils down to.
okay, that makes sense to me. Um, let's talk not about racing. Before we started the podcast, you told me you were prepping your meal. Is it? Do you like
Yeah.
cooking? Do you like cooking, or is it a necessity?
You
Just
know,
to feel the body.
I do like
Yeah.
cooking. See, I would never be able to open a restaurant because my definition of cooking is pretty loose. It's pretty bad. Like, um, it's nothing fancy. Like before this call, I was just cooking buffalo burgers. Like it's just nothing fancy. Just good lean meat. I mean, basically, like when I was talking about my diet, like I don't really have like a strict you have to eat this, you can't eat that diet. We just go off of my macronutrients. So, and I know what my body feels best on, so I kind of try to keep it on that basis. So, but in like general, all my meals are cooked for the most part, just because I feel like budget wise, it's a little bit better to eat at home, and
Mm,
then just at least you know where everything's coming from.
right.
And then another thing is you don't have other people touching it, which is nice. Unless it's Chick-fil-A. If it's Chick-fil-A, it's a little different. You gotta get some chicken nuggets in your life. That's
Yeah, I agree.
without a doubt.
Yeah,
And
everybody has that one fast food joint that they just can't say no to.
yeah, I mean Chick-fil-A is without a doubt number one.
Are you sponsored by Chick-fil-A? Shouldn't you be?
Actually, the Chick-fil-A in Sparks, Nevada does support me.
It's
But
awesome.
um I also like Chipotle because it's kind of what I eat anyways. Like
Right.
what I cook at home is basically that. But um I think generally I do enjoy cooking. Um like I meal prep is what I do a lot, and it's basically all my dinners for like 4 nights or 3 or 4 nights are cooked at once. That way, like sometimes I get home from the gym late, I could just throw it in the microwave, throw the throw it all together, eat, be done, take a shower. So I when I was a kid, my mom never made me cook or anything. Like I was no interest in it,
Yeah.
and as I've gotten older, I've kind of been like, okay, well, this is it's cool. I mean, like I said, it would never be a job because, as my girlfriend likes to point out, I'm absolutely just horrendous to watch in the kitchen. Like, apparently, everything I do is wrong,
Yeah.
according to her. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you're not wrong. Like, I just do it apparently the wrong way. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care to learn the right way. It's still
Yeah.
edible.
Yeah.
I mean, it tastes like food. It is food. Sounds good to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And since I cooked, you can do the dishes, so I don't care how many dishes I had to use to make
Yeah,
this.
right? No, I'm actually like really good at doing that. Like, my dishes are usually pretty minimal.
Okay.
Yeah, but um, my it's funny. I'm the laziest eater though because the only thing I really um I don't care how it tastes. Like food and like when we go to restaurants and stuff and like I order a burger and you have to put the things on it.
Yeah.
I'll eat just a burger and a bun.
So
Like
that's your superpowers then.
like I just like the effort it takes to put the mustard and ketchup and lettuce and pickles on, like I'm just like, man, that's just a lot of work to just like you're just eating it. Like just eat it. Who cares what it tastes like? Like sure,
Yeah.
food tastes good, but like I just want to eat it. Like I don't really care what it is.
Thank God you don't think like that when you're on the track. Oh my God, you mean I gotta use the front and the rear brakes?
Yeah,
God, that's
right.
a lot of work. And I gotta
That's
dash
so
shift.
much. Yeah, it's funny. I'm not really that way with a lot of things, but like food in general, I'm just the laziest person. Like I just couldn't care less. I'm like if it's a burger and a bun or if it's like before this call,
Yeah,
my dinner was 7 ounces of ground buffalo.
right.
That's it.
Okay,
That
and,
was
and
it.
the bun.
Like
And the
I
bun.
had
Yeah,
it's just because I didn't want to cook anything else. I was like, this is fine.
yeah. Hey, I'd rather be your friend than like that picky ass either that you like, hey, you want to go here? No. You want to go here? No. Like
Yeah.
I've not dated girls simply because they're like, oh, we don't eat eggs. I go, why don't you eat eggs? They're allergic. They're like, no, I just don't like it. I'm like, okay, sorry, we can't hang out because I want to take
Oh,
you to a restaurant that has eggs, and that's game over. Because if you're gonna watch me eat, that's not what
yeah.
I want in a
The
relationship.
I I really I like my girlfriend a lot, but she said something really tragic the other day.
Oh, hold on. You sure you can say this?
Oh, this is great. Like she'll love this. I'm gonna even send it to her. I might even soundbite it and send it to her
Done.
because I went to dinner at her house the other night, and her parents and stuff were there, and I found out that she doesn't like watermelon.
All right.
But I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I don't know. It's just like it doesn't like taste good to me." Or like she had the like it made her stomach like it wasn't like it didn't even like upset her stomach. She just said that she kind of like wanted to throw up when she'd eat it. And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "That's only because of the seeds. If it's a seedless watermelon, it's different." I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like I don't understand. And I love watermelon.
Yeah.
And that kind of like irked me a little bit. I was like, "What? You don't like watermelon?"
Well, you know you can buy seedless watermelon. It's a thing. You can get it.
I know, but like I'm not gonna compromise my seed in watermelon for her. Like that's just she's gotta like I think she's gonna have to compromise on this one because it's just irresponsible for her to not like it.
Because of the work it takes to spit out the seeds.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like there was something else she said that was kind of like weird too, but I don't know. It's funny that I used to be that way a little bit when I was younger. Like I wouldn't eat like tomatoes, but I mean, like I said, now I just eat things that are beneficial for my body. Like if if I don't like the taste of it, I'm still gonna eat it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I actually know the pivotal moment where I went from being super picky to being I'll eat anything that's on the plate.
Yeah,
I was 12 and I got really sick. Now I don't remember what I was sick with, but the doctor
COVID
basically said
19.
could have been COVID-18. Remember, I'm a lot older than you, right? So
Oh yeah.
COVID-18. And this is, anyways, long story short is the doctor goes, yeah, he can't eat for a week. And like literally, I think I had soup. And there's this thing that Chinese people or Asian people make a lot. It's called congee. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's basically rice. Okay, but when
Okay.
you boil the rice, you put in like 5 times the amount of water. So it's almost like porridge. It's almost like gruel. I know it's not the best sounding thingy in the world, okay? But as kids, that's what we would eat, okay? And you put in meat,
Yeah.
you put in chicken, whatever. And it's not bad when you do it right. The point is, that's all I had for a whole week. And I remember one time my mom makes this deep fried oyster, which I hated. Like, I'm like, oh my God, it smells. It's gross. At the end of the week, I'm like, Ma, you got to make the deep fried oysters. I don't know what it is. You got to make it. And then she made it. And I was like, this is the best smell in the world. And literally from that point on, I had stopped being picky. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
I
weird.
mean, I broke some teeth earlier this year, and I
Doing
was the
what?
same way where
From what?
walking. Yeah, I'm not a great walker, evidently.
Okay, that's super ironic, but all right.
Yeah, yeah, so I broke my jaw
Oh my
and then
God.
and 5 teeth along with the jaw. Really amazing moment in my life. But yeah, I really couldn't eat food and it was a long week. And then like it's just realistically 2020 has been a long year for me because that happened on my birthday. And then um so I broke like molars on my top right and then top left. So I was kind of like eating like a mouse out of my front teeth. And then like I'd only chipped a couple on the left side, so now I can eat on the left side. And then a few months go by, and then my wisdom tooth starts to pop in. So now like the entire side of my face got swollen, and I couldn't. It hurt, so I couldn't
Yeah.
eat like again straight out
Couldn't
of
do
my
anything.
like the front of my mouth. And I was like, I don't know, like I. It was so bad. I was like, this sucks. Like I don't like this at all.
Yeah. That's like protein shake, protein shake.
Basically, like my entire diet, Jamba Juice, actually. Jamba.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's. I haven't had Jamba Juice in a long time. You know what I've been craving ever since everything's been on lockdown was frozen yogurt. That's all I've been craving. It's frozen yogurt, but everything's on lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't gone out to like I haven't done takeout at all. I figure it's a good time again to save money.
Yeah.
But there's so many foods I'm craving for a good burrito. I'm craving sushi. Like I'm dying for like a Wendy's burger. Like that's my
Wendy's.
one. That's my one vice. I don't know what it is. I really like Wendy's burgers over like anything else. So
Yeah, I've never been a Wendy's person. I'm not really much of a fast food person. Um, every now and then a good In-N-Out burger is fine.
yeah.
I my Hopefully my trainer doesn't listen to this. I love donuts. Like a good donut from time to time really just sparks up my life. Um, so I think that's my guilty pleasure. That and frozen yogurt, but
Okay.
um, yeah, good donut. Like that's what I'm looking forward to is having a nice warm donut.
But he was good with you. He was cool with you drinking Jamba Juice, or did he or did your trainer know?
Yeah, well, I do like the bowls, like just the fruit smoothie bowl.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
mean, not the worst.
No. 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 It's free pass on in my book.
Yeah, I count that as a pass.
No, for sure. So, we talked a little bit about joking around sponsorship and that Chick-fil-A in your local area does help you out a little bit. It does support you. Um, how much of a job, and I don't want to say annoying, but how much of a job is it to get the right sponsor, to attract the right set of sponsors? Are you involved at all, or is it your management team, your parents, or how does
Um,
that work?
it That's something I've struggled a lot with. I think what I deal a lot with it. It's a lot of my team, like Rick will help me, my
Hmm.
parents help, um, my crew chief helps. It's just kind of like we all. It's an effort because we all want to do the same thing. We all just want to be at the racetrack with our friends and family, and we want to go see green flags and checkered flags. Like that's I think as a group collectively that's our one goal. And I wouldn't say that like it's a job per se. Like I mean, obviously it takes a lot of effort, and it's something that I've accepted that I'm not maybe naturally gifted at, unfortunately. I struggle in that category a little bit, and I think um, I mean personally, I think everyone should be treated equally. If you've got, I mean, $5 to your name or 5 million, I think
Mm.
we're all equal. And I think there's people out there that kind of just like their butt kissed a little bit, and I struggle with that. Like I understand that maybe doing that a little bit more would help me, but I think that kind of compromises what I believe, and I think that's kind of made pushed me back a little bit in previous years. But um, I think when you're like that, something good comes along, and it's more meaningful that way. So
Yeah, I don't really believe in fate or anything, but I do believe that if you stick to your guns and your morals are fine, like you're not. My morals is to cheat people as much as I can. Okay,
yeah,
obviously not, but I think if you do well and you believe in yourself and you stay true to who you are, I think you naturally attract the right people in your life, and I really believe that,
Yeah.
right? So I think that makes a lot of sense to me, because there's no point in selling out to make an extra 100 G's and then realize, God, I'm
Yeah.
a slave to the ship.
Yeah, and that's something that I've just honestly never really been interested in because, I mean, as a 4-year-old learning to ride, the reason we're learning to ride is because we enjoy it. So
Mm,
I'm 21 now. The same thing drives me. I enjoy it.
yeah.
And if I start selling out my morals a little bit, and I think that would probably take away from what I enjoy the most, which is just, going to the racetrack. So I don't know. I think maybe there's definitely things I can improve on in that category with sponsorship, but I think you'd be naive if there wasn't something that you could pick apart yourself and be like, I could do this better. So I think in my portfolio as a motorcycle racer, I feel like I've taken my training up, my diet up, racing has come up, and I think that's the next thing that I need to start kind of concentrating on is being able to get, I don't know, a little bit more business oriented and understanding the business world a little bit.
Now, you've probably been asked this a billion times, and you can just tell me, hey, let's skip it. Now, obviously, even a dummy will know that the difference between a 600 and 1,000 bike is huge,
Yeah.
right? Um, but the way Rick tells it, you basically jumped on that bike and was fast like from the get go. And to the layman, I'm thinking, come on, man, it's the same, right? Throttle same. Maybe it's delivered a little bit
Yeah.
faster. Um, but realistically, did you ever have to struggle with the horsepower difference or the dynamics of the bike in any way?
You know, it's funny because when I came from dirt bikes and supermoto over to road racing and I worked my way up from a Ninja 250, so even before the 300, so the 250 onto a 600 and then onto a 1000, and realistically like my 600 time was never really great. Like I was never setting the world on fire. I was never like, oh, that was like he does this really well. I think
Mm.
I was just kind of like the average kid, like just, and I guess something clicked when I got onto a 1000 where I was like, okay, this is this is gonna work. And I signed with Graves Kawasaki before the last season, and I was doing a lot of their development work at the local races. And we came into the last round after I wrapped up the championship at MotoAmerica on the 1000. And Chuck Graves was like, "Hey, we're gonna have you get on the 600, and that's all."
Mm.
And there's a little birdie on my shoulder that I was like, "Oh, dude, this is gonna suck." Like, oh crap, because like the last time I rode a 600, everyone was like, "You suck. Like you're just not good." And then you get on a 1000, and everyone's like, "You're just a 1000 rider. You're just a 1000 rider," and you're like, when you hear it over and over, that's all you can think of is like, oh, I guess I'm just a 1000 rider. And I came into that weekend and I was like nervous, super nervous. And I mean, in that one weekend, my best lap time at that track on a 600 prior to that weekend was a 1 minute 50.0.
Mm.
And then I got onto that bike and I went 1 minute 48.1 with
Wow.
like barely any setup changes, and I just rode. And I was
Yeah.
like, huh, okay, that's not too bad. Like a little worried
Yeah.
at times, and
Yeah.
I think that was something that kind of like perked me up, and I was like, okay, you can do this. Like you can ride it other than just a ZX10, you can ride another bike. And I think that's something to say for, I mean, if there's a kid watching that, don't let the outside people dictate who you are, because I
Mm.
was kind of letting that happen where, I mean, realistically, if there was an offer in Europe that was like, hey, come ride a 600, I probably would have been pretty hesitant just because like I'm just a 1000 rider. And I
Mm.
think that would have kind of, I mean, if that opportunity came along, I think that would have harmed me just because I was so like beat down to the point where I was like, oh, I'm only capable of riding one motorcycle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Talking about nerves, I'll tell you the truth. Okay, now, um, I used to be a sales guy, right? So in a previous life, long time ago, I used to be a sales guy, and I was not a natural salesman. I've talked about this in the podcast before. I'm not a natural sales guy, and even when I do podcasts, even though I know you're a regular guy
Mhm.
and Rick's a regular guy, and all my other guests are regular people, I still get super nervous beforehand. I'm always worried because apparently you're a smart ass like me. Okay, we don't have to bring that side out today. Okay, but from what
Yeah.
I've heard, you're a smart ass. And my problem is I'm super worried about offending somebody not on purpose because again, I grew up, you know,
Yeah.
making fun of all my friends like really badly to the point where I'm like, oh dude, I think he's gonna cry, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so anyways, my point is I get super nervous. And what are some of the things that you do to calm yourself down to be in that place where you can concentrate? I know some riders they'll say they'll close their eyes and think about the track and play in their head what each corner looks like, where's my braking marker,
Yeah.
etc. Right? What do you do?
I have, I mean, I'm not really like a spiritual person, or, I mean, realistically, I'm not really ritualistic, but I've kind of gotten to this, like, it's a habit that I have now. Before I get on a motorcycle, that I always do it the same. And it's just kind of like, I do like this little stretch, and I kind of close my eyes, take a deep breath, and then I establish a goal for that session. And I do
Mm,
this every time I go ride. And I think that's something that kind of concentrates me a little bit, where it's instead of just, oh, I'm gonna go out there and spend some laps, like I now have a purpose for these, I don't know, like next 5 laps, I'm gonna go do this. And that's something that's kind of helped me, I feel like, better my riding.
yeah, that's also one of the commonalities of extreme winners is that they're very goal oriented and
Yeah.
that they have the ability to break things down. They don't just say, hey, I want to be on a super bike next year. They say, okay, that's my ultimate goal, but let's step
Yeah.
back. What does it take? And they break it down to like little work packages to
Yeah.
the point where you're saying, okay, I'm on a super bike. I'm going to have 2 laps. I'm going to go and try to improve my time between those 2 laps. And that's it.
Yeah.
It could be the smallest goal in the world. It could be as simple as making my bed this morning. I've
Yeah.
accomplished a goal. I've accomplished a task.
I
I
felt
know I
that
can
one
do
this
more.
morning. I
Yeah.
felt that one. Yeah, it was terrible. Today, just, I'm tired today.
Are you a
Wasn't,
bed making kind of guy? I'm not. I'll be honest.
typically I am. Um, Past few days have just kind of been like, you know what? What's one more day?
I'm not racing anyways. Screw it.
Yeah. Um,
Let's keep it
no,
messy.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in it later, and I'm just gonna relax, and you know what? It is gonna be what it is. So
That's right. You're spending more and more time in the room in your bed now than ever before. You're like,
I know it's bad. I feel so lazy, but at least I can go do my workouts and stuff, and like, oh, okay, well, at least I'm doing something.
yeah.
But
Now, yeah.
I've been watching like, so I've been watching like the CrossFit games. So it's those guys and girls are phenomenal athletes, and like what you were kind of talking about, goal oriented and having the stepping stones, like all the different like motions and drills that they go through in the games, and how they train for it. That's kind of like, it's been really interesting for me. And I think as an athlete,
Mm,
that's something, because I mean, in the CrossFit games, they go running on the beach to swimming to lifting weights, and it's like all these different things to test your physical, like how well you are in
right.
fitness.
Right.
And it's not just, oh, I'm good at lifting weights. It shows the people that are good at lifting, the people good at running, and it's just like, it's really entertaining to kind of see the people that are, they struggle at one thing and they're great at another. And that's something where I think that I've kind of incorporated into myself is, whenever you do something you don't like, you should do it 2 more times.
Hmm.
Because if you really hate it, odds are you're probably not great at it. So you should probably get better at it. And that's something that I've been doing a lot. And I mean, my trainer has me doing some insanely painful workouts. And I'm like, man, I'm not enjoying this, but the results are going to be great. And you just
Yeah.
kind of, you grit your teeth, you dig your heels in, you just keep going.
That's pretty cool. Um, I wanted to ask you. Let me ask you just a dumb question because I can't remember now what I wanted to ask you. But are you binge watching a lot of TV shows? Is there a favorite show,
Oh yeah,
movie?
Netflix. That place. Well, I had to watch The Tiger King. I
Yep.
feel like that was kind of required if you were in quarantine in 2020. So
Yeah, yeah.
obviously I fit the criteria. I was like, you know what? Let's watch some tigers. Wow, what a roller coaster of just I don't even know. Like that was a
Yeah, that's like you can't write that. That can no matter what you do, no one can come up with that.
I just him and his partners like that it's the whole thing is just kind of like it's I don't know, like I don't think anyone could have thought of writing a book or a movie or anything about that. Like that was all just like really interesting stuff. But something I'm binge watching. On Netflix I watched this show called The Community. I really enjoy that show. Um my girlfriend and I like when we're hanging out we watch My 600 Pound Life together.
Okay. All right.
Really so we watched that. And then like I said, I've been watching like a lot of like CrossFit competitions lately just because I think it's interesting seeing that.
Yeah, I'll look it
But
up.
yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like at least for me because I kind of do workouts like that in a sense.
Mm.
But I just that's about it for me. I think. Um,
Mm.
what have you been watching?
Tiger King. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm an oddity. I don't watch a lot of television. I don't even. It's sad to say I don't even have Netflix. But I saw the Tiger King. I borrowed my friend's password, and he's like, "Yeah, just go ahead and download it or whatever." And I watched it. So I did watch it. That's one of the things I did. Um, I don't enjoy cooking, but I enjoy watching cooking shows.
Oh, really?
So that's kind of
I can't
my
do it.
only vice. Yeah,
I
I
can't
don't know.
like
No,
no because it makes me hungry.
that's exactly what the wife said. She's like, "I can't watch with you. It makes me hungry, and I don't want to just eat."
Yeah, and like
Right.
so with my diet, I can only eat X amount of food a day. So
Right.
it's like if I start watching that, I'm gonna get hungry and then I'm gonna go over and then I'm gonna feel bad the next day because I ate like an idiot.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So what I wanted to ask you earlier was, if you look at NASCAR, right, and because nobody's racing, they have the ability to jump into like a racing game and compete and have fun. And I think with NASCAR racing, it's fairly simple in the sense that you can go buy a Logitech steering wheel, you can buy the shifter, blah blah blah, and it'd be an okay 40 to 50% similarity,
Yeah,
right? You can't do this on a bike.
no, no.
So
I don't even. I think the only like it would be kind of funny. I wish arcades were open. Have all the professional motorcycle racers go to the arcade and get on one of those races, like the I don't even know what they call it, but you know what I'm talking about, like the little like leaning like yellow bike and red bike.
yeah, that we should produce that series because there's definitely a way for us to ship like everybody in a paddock one of those little arcade games. You
That'd be
hook it
great.
up to the internet and you're like just have at it.
Yeah, that'd be
That,
great.
that would actually be kind of fun.
That'd be. I think MotoAmerica should just have like 3 or 4 of those at the race, and then whoever makes it into Super Pool for Superbike has to then do that afterwards.
That's awesome. Um, what I wanted to say about Tiger King, that it's funny that you mentioned it, is it's crazy the amount of footage that they had on this guy. That
Yeah.
he literally had a camera following him around like every day. Um, is that something that motorcycle racers should do to raise their profile and raise their sport in a meaningful way?
Maybe not if they're doing things like Tiger King, like Joe Exotic. If
Okay,
they're cooperating in the manner of Joe Exotic, definitely not. Don't do
right,
it.
right.
No, I think it would be interesting. I think you'd find out really a lot of things about the racers, but I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one for me. Would I personally want a camera on me 24/7? Probably not. Um, I wouldn't mind having a camera on me like for a decent amount, but like I like privacy. I like to do my own thing, like I said, and kind of just hang out and cook a subpar burger and watch my 600-pound life with my girlfriend. Like that seems like a good afternoon for me.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe like I don't think the camera would find that too entertaining.
Well,
I, I think I think the viewers would be like, are they gonna like get off the couch? Like what are they like what's going on?
I already have the title for you, right? Andrew Lee Racer. He doesn't make his bed. His
Yeah,
girlfriend eats watermelon. And
there,
chill.
there you go.
Roll the credits.
Credits rolling. Yeah, I don't know. I think in a sense that it would probably be a pretty cool idea for like a behind the scenes or like a day in the life series for MotoAmerica to follow up with their racers. Um, because I just think that would kind of give it a little bit more of a person to person contact in a way. I feel like the fans would feel a little bit more involved, and I think that's important because personally, I tend to like athletes who are a little bit more like me, and it's hard to root for somebody that you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
What would the or what would the TV show of a like following you be called? Is the question.
Follow the newbie. How to fail with Eric Lowe.
How to
How
fail?
to fall. How to fall. I remember back in the day, I used to be on a motorcycle forum, and there was I swear, like a 20-page thread on should you practice falling off your bike. And
Ooh,
I just,
that's a
I
good
just,
one.
I don't know. I thought it was a bit asinine. Maybe there's value in that, but I'm like, why won't you just learn how to stay on the bike and go faster? And
No,
they're
that's
like,
silly.
yeah, they're like, well, no, 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 you're gonna fall one day. I go, right, but that's a rarity. It's not something you need to practice for.
If you're falling every time you ride, then yeah, maybe you should practice. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of get it like a little bit of entertainment kind of hearing what people teach, quotations, teach online, like in the forums and stuff, or the Instagram gurus, and I'm like, wow. I don't know who gave this guy or girl a credential, but they should revoke it. It's
uh,
bad sometimes.
yeah. Now, uh, with no racing, okay. So here's what I wanted to ask. Obviously, you're doing what you love, and it's most people's favorite job, but nobody's satisfied doing the current job they have. And
Yeah.
you mentioned very, very early on that, of course, you'd like to move up the superbike. Is there another job? Is there another thing you would have loved to do just as much as motorcycle racing, or is this pretty much it?
That's been a dilemma over the past few years because obviously as a motorcycle racer, we aren't like we're not pulling in the type of money that like a professional football player is making
Mm,
or anything in that sense. So when 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 you see your final flag drop, you got to think what's next. And that's a tough subject realistically because I mean in my sense, I think the only thing that's ever interested me in like a grand scheme of things has been motorcycles. I've grown up since I was 4, always on a motorcycle. Um, I've really never lived any sort of life away from motorcycles.
hmm
So, like, obviously, I mean, with like the pandemic currently struggling financially just because we're not racing, I've been thinking like, oh, what would be a career after racing that would interest me? And it's like, it's hard. It's really difficult just because realistically, all I know is motorcycles. All I know is green flag, checkered flag. Did you do good? Yes or no, right?
Right.
And I don't know of one thing outside of racing that would actually make me happy. So I think, and that's just because like 17 years is a long time to be devoted to one thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird to say that, I mean, realistically, that can end tomorrow. Like, I can stop racing tomorrow, then 17 years, like, it's built a lot of great memories, and I obviously would not change a thing about it, but there's nothing really left over from it other than the memories. We don't have 10 million sitting in the bank. Like, we
Hmm.
can't just live off of what we did as a racer. So I've I've been like, oh, what career would make me, I mean, the most happy? And it's like, I've thought about being a commercial pilot. Like, that could be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
I love photography. I do, like, that's something that has been a new passion of mine. I really enjoy doing photography, but that's a hard field to make a career out of.
So I used to be a professional wedding photographer, and
Really?
and, and I'm telling you now, like, there's no money in it.
No.
There's none left. I mean, everybody's a photographer when you have a digital camera, right? I strap
Yep.
that bad boy to a monkey, to a dog's head. They'll get a couple of great pics. I don't care,
Yeah.
as long as you're filming,
I have
as
a
long as you're.
DSLR and I shoot it on automatic, so I'm a photographer. So right, like I'm a photographer.
So
But
it's funny you say that because not didn't mean to interrupt, but it's funny you say that because I'm a firm believer in automatic. Canon, Nikon, they spend millions of dollars in their
oh
R&D to
really?
figure out how to get the automatic to come out with a clear picture, right?
hmm
So
I
unless you're
think
willing to go against scientists,
I'm willing to go against scientists, and here's why.
okay.
So I do a lot of, obviously, I mean, this might come to you as a surprise. I do a lot of motorcycle photography. Crazy, I know. Um,
Wow.
yeah, shocker. So I think automatic shooting is going to get you a generic picture. And as a photographer, I don't shoot for generic. I shoot for emotion. Like, I want the scene to speak to me. I want the picture to kind of like bring something out to me. So I feel like how I feel and how I expose the image or shutter speed, like, I feel like that is a better way for me to express how I feel like the viewer should feel when they see the picture. And I
Mm,
think
mm,
the generic setting, automatic, it's going to just make sure everything's still in focus, and that's great if you're just trying to get a portrait or you're trying to shoot a landscape. But if you're trying to do like a long exposure, like you want the water to be flowing, obviously automatic's not going to do that.
of
So,
course.
and
Yeah.
I shoot for the more dramatic kind of sense
Mm,
of a picture. So I am going to go ahead and say that that is why I'm not a fan of automatic.
yeah.
Personally, that obviously a personal opinion, but there is also a time and a place for auto.
Yeah. Well, I think we're good in that. We're good to agree to disagree, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Now,
and
if we
that's
were
fine
doing
with
this
it.
on Facebook, that'd be a whole different
That'd be
animal.
a yeah, that'd be a
It
whole
would
different
just be
thing.
a lot of FUs and middle fingers, like,
That's
oh, I'm
right.
right.
That's right. That's right. So, any shout outs you want to give?
Um, I mean, I guess I'll do some shout outs. I'd like to firstly thank you for having me on the podcast. And then I'd like to thank Rick Gray for putting us in contact, and family, obviously, my mom and dad, brother, girlfriend, grandma, all great people supporting me. Um, Graves Kawasaki for kind of giving me an opportunity last year to kind of get in a different role as a development writer. It was really, I think, something that helped me elevate my game.
Mm.
Um, Miles Brazil at Regulus Fit, my trainer, who is re- repetitively abused me in the gym, and um, I I say that as a joke. Obviously, it's accepted. Um, he just pushes me because he wants me to succeed. And yeah, I just really appreciate all that. And then, I mean, there's a whole list of people behind the scenes that help, right? I mean,
Yeah.
all the part like Olins and just so Dunlop, like everyone that's really made my journey to becoming a pro racer plausible. Derek Keys, my crew chief, he's been a big role too for me because I feel like he was the reason why I succeeded on the 1000. So um,
Mm-hmm.
just really thankful for him and Dylan and Rick for being a part of my team this year. So oh yeah, the Franklin Army Graves Kawasaki team. That's the team that I ran a MotoAmerica on last year, and like I said, Derek Keys, Dylan Shaver, his father helped out. I mean, honestly, like my racing program last year was kind of like a hodgepodge crew of misfits. Like we could actually, you know what, we could have had a good TV show with the crew that I had.
Well,
I
there you
mean,
go.
Rick Gray's not like a professional mechanic, and like we just kind of like my dad wrenched for me from time to time. And it's just like we just kind of it was like a whole family effort, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is it's still a family. So I just want to thank everyone for pushing me and holding me to the higher like standards. They don't accept me to slack off. They want me to go out there and do 100%, and really appreciate everyone for that.
Yeah. So what's your Instagram, Facebook? How are we gonna follow you in the
Oh
future?
yeah. So my Facebook page is Andrew Lee Racing, and I feel like everyone knows how to spell Andrew and Racing, so I'll spell my last name Lee. There you go. It's pretty easy. And then my Instagram is Andrew Lee 14, I believe. And then everything else I just don't go on. So
Okay. Sounds awesome. Yeah, as a funny little last note is Rick was texting me and he's like, "Yeah, you should talk to my writer Andrew Lee." And then there was a pause and the next house was, "By the way, he's not Chinese." I'm like,
yeah, I raced in Japan. I feel like a lot of people were like confused, like, wait a second, what? You're not, you're not Asian.
so last final question before I let you go. That is one thing I didn't touch on. Apparently, you do have a pretty strong following in Japan. One of the questions I have is why does it seemingly in Japan, Japanese racers are great, they're well known,
Mhm.
but they don't do so well in other motorsports. Why do they succeed in motorcycle racing in particular? Why do you think that is?
I think personally, it's because of the manufacturers being based out in Japan.
Mm,
Um, I can't back that up. That's just an uneducated opinion and guess. Um, I mean, obviously, there's manufacturers for four wheels out there too. But I think that maybe a lot more emphasis is on the Yamahas, the Kawasaki's, the Suzuki's, the Hondas, all being in like a small area. That kind of makes them have better riders.
sure, sure. Iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks very much, Andrew, for your time. I'll see you in the next one.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye now.